Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Hope everyone is able to listen me. First of all, thanks for inviting Nabad to this CSR box. And I should congratulate this maybe the initiative of India Livelihoods Collective to come out with a kind of a CSR box because every one of us are doing maybe so many things in the country. Maybe not knowing the what other person is doing. I think now it's a kind of a platform which will take into account the various activities being done by other partners so that actually there will be a kind of a collective action. So now, I'm first of all, I heard maybe that I think the first speaker, I think Bhumika or somebody was speaking, and also few people who introduced themselves. And I am first of all happy to say that NABARD is involved or maybe is associated with most of the organizations which are there, barring few. Maybe if I can say that Pradhan was our partner for quite some time and now also is there. Seva Mandir in Rajasthan should be our partner. Then Swadesh Foundation had a collaboration with not only NABARD, even with the napkins where I was MD recently. Then Dalmia Bharat, I personally visited their foundation work in Kadapa, where they got a factory and kind of in CSR they have done along with NABARD and they have did quite a lot of effort. And BAIF is our partner for quite some time in the developmental perspective and we had quite a lot of engagement with them. Likewise, Tata Trust also has done quite a lot of things, even in the alternative energies, particularly going to that green climate kind of a thing. We have done maybe there is a kind of a program going on with almost close to around 100 million. I think some kind of a project is there where the household solar energies are being done. And also beyond this, now with the Axion, Microsave and others, we have a relation because I know quite a lot of them, including Sharma and others, who are the maybe the knowledge partners for many of the organizations, including the microfinance and livelihoods kind of creation. And we are part of the Sadhan, MFIN and everything because we work with everyone. So now, the other one is with regard to the creating the skills for this one. NABARD is a major founder for the RCTs, Rural Self-Employment Training Institutes, and also the PAN-IIT kind of an organizations, and also a few others, and also the EDI earlier used to have a good collaboration with them sometime back, and now also probably we will try to do something with them. So now, having set that tone as to really what we are, I don't know really where really we fit into this kind of a color because most of you are the independent kind of an organization, maybe corporate driven with the CSR. But if I look into it, NABARD does every year maybe close to 1,000 crores worth of an activities, which is akin to CSR, but we don't call it as CSR. Now, if you look into it, most of the NGOs, they get a lot of grants from NABARD to do this kind of activities. And again, here I say that as somebody was reading out my profile, that we have maybe some of the best big programs like this self-help group movement. Now, as if you can just go through the data that is available today, we are having close to around 10 million self-help groups in the country, and almost close to around 100 million women are there as their members. And of these 100 million women, close to around 50 to 60 million women continuously get the loan assistance in the banking system. So now that we ensure, because now we monitor along the government of India as to how these rural poor women get the financial assistance so that their livelihoods can be created. Then the next one is with regard to maybe creating the skill-based kind of a thing. Because now today, if I really look into it, maybe this entire initiative, if I am not wrong, I think this entire initiative right now is as to how to create a livelihoods scenario to the reverse migrants who have come back from urban areas to the rural areas. Because as NABARD, which is doing quite a lot of work in various things, because we are developmental financial institution, we provide loans to the most of the crop loans, we give the car loans, the refinance, and we do financing to many of the state governments for their maybe creating the rural infrastructure health-related infrastructure, maybe training-related infrastructure, whatever is there they want to take, they can take. And also that we are maybe accredited agencies of the United Nations agencies for the Green Climate Fund, and also the national entity also for this kind of a systems which we are doing. So now, in that way, our involvement is there everywhere, and we are associating ourselves with most of the organizations that are having a maybe a footprint in the rural areas and also the livelihoods. So now, having said that, I just want to take you through few of the things. NABARD also has got some of the subsidiaries. I'm not talking about the financial subsidiaries because we have a few of the financial subsidiaries which are exclusively devoted to give money to the microfinance like that NABFINs, and we have a NAB Kisan, which is the subsidiary which is giving money to the FPOs because probably no other bank has given so much of money than this NBFC which has given. And also NAB Kisan and NABARD, they run a guarantee scheme also, the credit guarantee scheme for that FPOs funding is there. And at the same time, we have an organization called NAB Samruddhi, that is an NBFC, which is devoted exclusively for the non-farm sector or off-farm sector kind of an activities. But we have other thing called, we have a NAB Foundation, which is just maybe a 6 months old baby, but now we are trying to look into it, really how this NAB Foundation can get steam and maybe take this kind of an activities, which maybe the most of you are doing, and also because now, as I told in the beginning, that NABARD every year spends close to 1,000 crores only on maybe few of the development activities, maybe the various grants, maybe creating infrastructure, maybe the acceptance infrastructure at the bank level and NGOs level and all that. So now, maybe I just gone through that maybe the last slide of that first presentation, where they told that sub-thematic groups, livelihood situational room, then maybe the innovation hub and the collaboration hub. I just want to have maybe a little more details before NABARD like to come in a big way as to really what we can. Because maybe in one meeting and through this webinar, I don't know because whether we can really maybe able to do maybe such kind of maybe a clear-cut thing as to really how far and how long will be our maybe involvement in such kind of maybe activities. But definitely we are there to do so many things. And at the same time, I am extremely happy for one thing that everybody had realized. Because in the morning I had discussion with the doctor. They were talking as to really what can be done for the reverse migrants. Maybe to enable them to settle for some time in the rural areas. Because again, now if I really look into it, this pandemic is something which nobody had ever heard or seen, whoever is living right now along with us. Because the last pandemic was almost more than 101 years old, and I don't think anybody is living to just tell the story as to what happened then. But at the same time, if you look into those days and the present day, because that time 50 million people perished, and maybe out of only something like 400 million people are there in the world. But today we are close to around 7.5 billion, and this pandemic has created a panic. But maybe with the kind of maybe the measures taken by various governments, still maybe the mortality rate is comparatively contained at a very low level, and it's a very positive. But at the same time, one thing I can say that a kind of a panic has been created, and when we are looking at the data since 2003, a kind of a migration happened because of the push factor from the rural areas instead of the pull factor in the urban areas. There are opportunities in the urban areas, construction everywhere. Many of the rural areas were brimming with people. There's a demographic dividend was there in the rural areas, and these people are not having any kind of a sustainable livelihood. So they all went to the urban areas. And at the same time, this migration to the urban areas had created quite a lot of maybe I can say good livelihood, a lifestyle, and also maybe living standards in the rural areas because of the remittances people are sending. But today, the situation is something very grave because in the last 2 months, everybody was petrified as to really what to do. And the big urban conglomerates like Bombay, Surat, Hyderabad, Chennai, Bangalore, Everywhere people were interned for almost 2 months, and ultimately they all have were rushing back to their villages. But thing is, just now I was reading some article by one professor. He said that maybe it's just a matter of time when again these people want to migrate back to the urban areas, because the rural areas, the livelihoods can be created only in a limited sphere, because now that agriculture is the one which earlier was absorbing 75% of the people. Now, over a period of time, it started absorbing only 45%, and the rest of the people are migrated to the urban areas for the good livelihoods. But today, now again, with the same number of people have gone back, the land limitation is there, and maybe the crop also, you cannot give anything beyond, because the more number of people are working doesn't mean that actually the crop will get a more price, because the price has got a limitation and it is inelastic. Maybe in the Indian context, mostly it will not go beyond a particular thing. So if that is the case, there is a need for all of us to think as to what kind of a good livelihoods can be created, taking into account the maybe the better skills these rural migrants who went to urban areas and again coming back in the reverse have acquired over the period of time. Many of them might have acquired good skills also in the urban areas. So now, in case if you can create a kind of a enabling environment, really how these people can be engaged, we can do quite a lot of things at the ground. Now here I was looking into maybe a few things that was done, because some of the maybe the startups which are doing very good work, and they are maybe probably yet to scale up, but at the same time their concept wise and also initial kind of modelings were very good. Now here I can say that now we have created maybe the innovation, that is incubation centers in 5 agricultural universities, and they are creating a kind of a sustainable kind of an activities and livelihoods to the people around. They don't really how to do the food processing, the limited scale for the rural areas. If that is the case, really, can we also associate the people working in those areas, these NGOs or CSR working in those areas, whether we can collaborate with this kind of initiatives which we have taken in association with the agricultural universities or maybe for that might be any other institution. So now, as we told that now we have got quite a lot of schemes, that is, some are grant based, and I can say that now we have maybe, I can say that the tribal development fund, in case if the good tribal development project is there, actually the tribal development fund is being given, and BAIF and many other NGOs operating in the country are the biggest partners with us, and they have done a great job in creating maybe a kind of an archers or called bodies in the rural parlance. And now, yeah, I was there in Karnataka as in charge, and also I used to work in maybe most of the North Indian schools. Now, some of the bodies which we have started giving assistance since 2005, today they started yielding fruits, and now some of the bodies which I have seen that a farmer collective in that particular area, they started doing a business of around 1 crore plus, maybe during this mango season. So now you can imagine really how maybe the prosperity has gone up. So Lakpati Kisan, as somebody was telling, I think this is the way we have to do. So now the ways of tackling is that can we create a kind of a durable assets to these rural people, so that they can maybe stay put with this kind of a income earning asset, and they will do it. Now the dairying can be done, maybe the orchards can be done, or maybe a kind of a little bit of a textile related kind of things can be done. Now today, like the biggest kind of a thing is with regard to the mass production, sanitizer production. Now there is a good demand for this one, and we don't know how long will it last. Probably it may last at least an year, if I'm right, because definitely this corona is not going to go away just like that. Probably it will be there with us, and everybody has to be very cautious about it. So if that is the case, in the rural areas, many of the self-help groups whom we are associated for quite some time, they started producing the mass, and the mass are being sold in various places, including to the big ones. So now, in case if your CSR initiative is to create as to really how to produce a very maybe mass meeting the all the standards, probably our people, ours, maybe the assistance also can be available, maybe somewhere. So now I am looking forward as to really how we can collaborate, because now I am very happy that many of the corporates have joined here. But now the CSR at the corporate level, it is like maybe the individual initiative. Whatever be the CSR funds you are maybe earmarking out of your profits, a 2% of your EBT, VAT, whatever it is. So now, this amount generally the corporates would tend to spend only on their clients or maybe on their captive area or catchment area. But in NABARD, we don't have such kind of a thing. So when you are working on this one, if you can maybe provide us good leads as to really where you can do the good work, like I told that maybe the PAIF, Dalmia Foundation, or for that matter, many others who are there, they are both the corporates as well as maybe doing the CSR activity, but at the same time they have collaborations, Tatas and others. So now others also can really join hands with us, and collectively we can take maybe this initiative much way ahead. So with this, I congratulate the initiators for this India Livelihoods Collective for taking such a noble cause at this pandemic time, and also maybe trying to push everyone to a different kind of a thinking slot. Because otherwise everybody was very happy because if somebody is a mining company, they will try to rehabilitate those affected by the mines and their CSR work will go. And somebody is in some other thing, wherever the affected persons are there because of their factories they are doing. But today, in our parlance, particularly in NABARD's parlance or Government of India's parlance, it is not what you are doing and the people affected by your company are not your concern. It is the entire country, entire Bharat. If I look into it, India and Bharat. If you look into the entire Bharat comprising of close to around 700 million people are our concern, and we have to really create maybe a kind of a confidence building measures that there is somebody or maybe this kind of a corporates, all of them are joining hands to help them in this maybe the crisis time. And we are there whenever it is there. And I wish that every one of you, in case if you have ideas once this is there, kindly maybe collate it and share with us, and we will in turn tell our regional officers, because we have regional office in every state, almost close to 30 states. We have offices, and everywhere we have the same kind of a delegation powers. We can do the whole thing so that your people can approach them and see really how we can work collectively. So this livelihoods collective is for the collective betterment of the society. So let us hope that this is going to lead us to a much better future of the country. Thank you. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to do that.